This review was made possible by contributions from viewers like you.
Hey guys, because it was such a big hit last year, we're going to revisit Christmas in July. And I find it only fitting to start off this block of reviews with what kicked off the Christmas season, the birth of Jesus. It's ironic that one of the most influential figures in history doesn't exactly have the strongest of filmographies. I mean, there are millions of people around the world who can recite the Star Wars movies from beginning to end, but when was the last time you heard of a Jesus movie with that kind of rewatchability? You have some really popular movies like The Little Drummer Boy, The Small One, or The Passion of the Christ, but outside of Christmas and Easter, you don't have a lot of people really tuning into these kinds of movies. In 2003, a little-known Spanish animation company called Animagic Studio wanted to change that with something really unique, different, and eye-opening. And boy did they do that with The Three Wise Men. We all know of the three wise men who visited Jesus and brought him gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh, but who were they? What did they do before they made their journey to Bethlehem? Trust me, whatever you're thinking in answer to those questions, you're nowhere close to what this movie pulled out of its ass. We open this biblical story on modern-day New York. I don't think this movie did its research. We meet this little boy named Inconsequential, who's all bummed out because he didn't get a particular Christmas gift, so he's decided to turn his back on Christmas entirely. He goes over to this bar, which I guess is fine with letting minors in, and the bartender tells him that, despite it being January 5th, it's still Christmas time.
Tonight is a very special night, the night of the three kings. They follow the star to Bethlehem. It's the most wonderful story in the world.
I can't decide on my accent. Is it Russian, Italian, Wissoian? Oh, hi, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. He begins his story by talking about how some people used black magic to turn into wolves. Well, I did tell you that Wolf-a-Bob would return. Gotta give the people what they want. We then meet the titular three wise men, starting with Gaspar, voiced by Martin Sheen. He and his fellow wise men are actually wizards, and Gaspar's specialty is light bending and telekinesis, as we see in his Intro to the Force class at Hogwarts. Balthazar is apparently a Green Lantern who spends his time freeing children from slavery, and Melchior is an alchemist whose entire purpose in life is to find the Valley of Gold. It's one thing to rip off DreamWorks' animation style, but did they have to rip off the plot from Road to El Dorado as well? It's also explained that these Native American werewolves are searching for the legendary treasures. I'm starting to see why people were having doubts about Jesus' abilities. Apparently, everybody's got powers beyond those of mortal men. Chief Meanders with Wolves here meets with the genie playing Nosferatu. Or maybe not, the editing makes it kind of hard to tell. But we get some exposition about how King Herod, along with his goblin servant, are looking for the treasures that would make him the true king. We then cut back to the three wise men as they prattle on, doing whatever it is they do, intercutting between their scenes which have nothing to do with each other. Not a good sign when the movie has no idea what it should be focusing on. Finally, their subplots come together as they're prompted to follow the Star of Bethlehem, though I'm not sure they know why they're following it, and Melchior leaves his apprentice behind.
Is everybody going after the gold?
No, what they're after is worth much more than gold.
Why is everything turning into gold?
Because Midas... Oh, well, that's another story.
Really? This apprentice, named Midas, accidentally stumbles upon the formula that turns everything he touches into gold? This movie is so bored with itself, it feels the need to introduce figures from other mythologies, because this one is just not interesting enough. Herod and Genie Sferato exposit how he needs the treasures in order to fight some great power that's coming, and Genie Sferato is played by Emilio Estevez. Because when you think of the love child of Gollum and the Green Goblin, you think Emilio Estevez. Wait a minute, what's this? On this movie's IMDb page, it says that Emilio plays someone named Jimmy? Okay, apparently our villain's name is Jimmy the Goblin.
Your Majesty, we've captured the leader of the rebels.
Magnificent, Tobias. I knew your first mission would be a success. Jason, the greatest general in my army, your father, and my best friend. As he was dying, I swore to him that I would care for you like my own son.
And then I would exposit about you to the audience that isn't here. We then meet, Angelina Jolie's warrior sister Xena, looking for volunteers to rebel with her against Herod.
You're not warriors, are you?
Just goes to show you how competent a warrior Xena Jolie is when she can't even recognize her own fellow warriors. By the way, you remember that little kangaroo rat that was hanging around with Who Gives a Damn at the beginning? Apparently he was Xena Jolie's pet thousands of years ago. Be sure to put a pin in this for later. Meanwhile, in the town of Durkistan, where Master Yoda has hit rock bottom, we see the wise men cross paths as they're discovering they're all following the same star.
Huh? Oh, elephants?
Okay, that makes the third little goblin creature that we've seen in 20 minutes. We're supposed to be in the Middle East, not Middle Earth. It would appear that not Gollum here is signaling for these bandits that Xena Jolie mistook for warriors. By the way, Xena Jolie here is such a powerful warrior that she got captured completely off-screen. Nice. The bandits break down the gate using one of their own as a battering ram, when they could have just stepped over the wall. I can't tell who's dumber, these bandits or the architects who thought that this thing would work. The wise men use magic against their attackers, and... Well, that just blew my mind! We're supposed to be watching a movie about the birth of Jesus, in which Santa Claus appears before he's even born? What? I don't... Wizards, sorcerers, and Santa, oh my! Okay, it's official. This movie's just making things up as it goes. These screenwriters were looking at the Bible for inspiration, but just tossed it out and said, nah, let's sort a bunch of bath salts and see what happens. Figatus, migatus, mum, bitches! They rescue Xena Jolie and decide to bring her along for the journey. Why?
Well, someone who knows the area could be very useful to us.
Does instantly getting captured by bandits suggest that she knows the area?
You can't go see Herod. When he finds out what you're after, he'll slit your throats. It's suicide.
Why would they want to see Herod? I thought they were following the star.
They say he's controlled by an evil being.
Oh, now there's an evil being. This is just too much.
Now there's an evil being. This is just too much.
That's what I said! And while most people have 4 heads, she has a 5-head. They meet with Herod, for some reason. Then before they resume their journey, they get interrupted by this rabbi who tells them that they were prophesied to find the King of Kings.
Your jewels appear in this manuscript, which will help you to find the royal treasures. Gold. Ooh. Frankincense. And myrrh. The treasures are destined for the child who is about to be born, the King of Kings. Follow the star. It will guide you.
Oh, you mean do the same thing that brought us here in the first place? Thanks for the tip. Jimmy's listening in on the conversation, disguised as a fly that's powered by nuclear farts.
Blasted giant. That's the second time he's spotted me.
1. When you look like Lexington from Gargoyles, you kinda stand out. 2. If you're disguised as a fly and somebody still recognizes you, you're doing something wrong. 3. Where did you get those piranhas? South America hasn't been discovered yet. He gives Tobias his eye embedded in a necklace so he can spy on the wise men. Then they have a chase scene with the soldiers so Tobias can help them escape. Oh crap, Balthazar just ran into a whole platoon of soldiers. How's he gonna get out of this one? Completely off screen, apparently. That's really cheap, movie.
So you're Tobias, huh?
You waited several hours before asking him that? Melchior consults his map to see what they are, but there's nothing on it. Oh my god, the rainbow faces are back! Actually, it's the star shining its light down upon the map so it can be read. Really, movie? Moonlighters? You're supposed to be taking inspiration from the Bible, not from Tolkien.
The City of Salt? You want us to go to a city of salt on a dead sea?
How's your little warrior? Have you finished him off yet?
I never saw so many troops chasing just 3 men.
And I've never seen dialogue that had so little to do with what's being discussed. Is Tommy Wiseau buying flowers again?
Oh, hi, Johnny. I didn't know it was you. Here you go.
That's me. How much is it?
It'll be $18.
Here you go. Keep the change. Hi, doggy.
You're my favorite customer.
Thanks a lot. Bye.
You recovered quickly.
Thanks. The body gets used to it when you've been fighting as long as I have.
Right. You fighting? This I have to see.
Excuse me, just humor me and pick up that sword that's on the ground right there. Yeah, that sword. Pick it up. Yeah, thought so. Character Development 101. If you're going to have a strong female character, actually make her do something that shows off her strength so it doesn't sound like she's talking out of her ass. On the topic of bad character development, Gaspar and Melchior start arguing about whether it's the sun that revolves around the earth or the other way around.
No, the sun revolves around the earth.
The jury was still out at the time, but people have hypothesized about the earth revolving around the sun for hundreds of years before the birth of Christ. I suppose it might be possible for Gaspar to hold on to the traditional theory of the sun revolving around the earth, although I would think that a wise man would be a little more open to the more modern theory. But that's not the worst part of this scene. The worst part is that they bicker about it into the next day. No, not arguing. That would imply that they're talking about different points to support their respective theories. They're just saying, the earth revolves around the sun. No, the sun revolves around the earth. And again, they go at it like this for hours! They're supposed to be wise men, people! Start writing them as such! Tobias leads the party to a spot where Jimmy the Goblin orchestrates a mass hallucination to throw them off their trail. Naturally, these wise men are so ungodly stupid that they don't think it's a little strange that their surroundings suddenly changed on them. Isn't any of this raising a red flag for any of them? Then Jimmy shows up. Or maybe he's astral projecting himself into their minds. I don't know, it's really hard to know what the hell's going on in this movie. And he tries to take the map from the wise men. Luckily, Balthazar's Green Lantern powers help him maintain a strong will, which is the opposite of how Green Lantern powers work, and he takes the map back.
It'll take us straight there, huh?
I thought it did.
Oh, don't you worry. It's her way of saying she likes you.
That means he likes you.
The 3 kings on their way to finding the royal treasures that would lead them to the King of Kings, the baby Jesus. What they didn't know then was that they would have to forge a strong friendship between them in order to succeed. For they were about to face many more challenges that would transcend their magical powers and require tremendous strength of character from each of them.
Yeah, nice pitch to the Disney executives for why they should distribute this movie, but I've got a better monologue for this montage. As our journey continued, I couldn't help but think, my God, this is the dumbest group of travelers I've had the misfortune of coming across. How they've gone this far without lighting themselves on fire is, frankly, a miracle. Ugh, again with the star letters! Why make it that pointlessly complex when all they should be doing is following the star until they get to Jesus? While that's going on, Xena Jolie and Tobias search for some water when she gets stung by a scorpion.
Oh, Sarah, my little girl.
You're not her father. The only reason you would call her your little girl is an incredibly creepy one. They come across this tree, which can only be found if you eat any old rotten piece of fruit that you find in a cave. Because wise men would totally do that. And it leads them to the hidden temple that houses the treasures.
Who can enter the royal dominion? He whose hands are innocent and heart is pure.
Who can enter the kingdom? Apparently anyone who can read the tree. And then this happens. Just shut your damn eye, you idiot! You're smart enough to conduct mass hallucinations, but you're not smart enough to just shut your eye? I gotta say, though, Tobias has a really good arm. Jimmy the Goblin then casts a spell to make a lunar eclipse. This serves literally no purpose but to make the lighting more dramatic. Back with the wise men, they open the door to what's supposed to be gold on the other side and end up in the North Pole. Hi? How did they end up in the North Pole? Is this where they meet the real Santa Claus? And for some reason, there are a bunch of wolves frozen in the ice. Oh hey, check it out. These animators had the same animal drawing class that I had in college. Balthazar falls through the ice, which somehow brings the frozen wolves to life. Melchior tries to fend them off, falls through the ice himself, and everything's fine somehow. Okay.
Fabulous! You charged those wolves with a toy knife!
Why did he attack them with a toy knife? Why does he have a toy knife? Why wouldn't he think of going against them with a spell instead of attacking them with a toy knife? So he gets the gold because he was dumb enough to throw himself into danger with no plan or strategy? That's not bravery, that's idiocy. They go into the next room, which is supposed to reward them with frankincense.
Frankincense, for the one who learns to be humble.
But instead, they get...
Well, well, well. What have we here?
Oogie Boogie, voiced by Mark Hamill?
Now the question only one may answer, and you don't have much time. Does the sun revolve around the earth, or the earth around the sun?
And despite him vehemently holding on to his earlier theory, along with whatever evidence he had to support that theory, he just concedes to the other theory without looking at the facts. Kinda sounds like how this movie was written. Meanwhile, outside the temple...
Who are they?
Who are they? Who are who? We didn't see him looking at anybody. What you should be asking is, what the hell is that that's blocking out the sun? In between screams of terror because you think the world's coming to an end. We then go back into the temple to get the final treasure, myrrh.
Myrrh, for the one who follows his heart.
Can anyone explain to me what's happening here?
I was counting on you guys to explain things to me. What makes you think I know? They trudge through these catacombs full of statues, but if you touch them, you immediately turn into a statue yourself. Oh no, I've lost my friends. Oh well, nothing I can do for them. And how does Balthazar save them? By shedding a single tear into the water, which somehow makes them okay. So simply acknowledging that something is tragic is better than actually trying to fix it like they did? I understand that tests of faith can be confusing at times, but this test is all about choosing your heart. What's the point of punishing them for trying to do good by following their hearts? i.e. saving these poor souls who are crying out in terror. They go into this final room to collect their treasures, then their magical baby blocks go into their respective slots, and a beam of light shines up to the star. So the star was supposed to lead them to the temple, and the temple is supposed to lead them to the star. That's not completely pointless.
You have passed the tests of the kings. You have shown yourselves worthy of bearing the royal treasures to the King of Kings, who is about to be born. For your courage, you will bear gold, King Melchior. For your humility, you will bear frankincense, King Gaspar. For your heart, you will bear myrrh, King Balthazar. But you still have one great test before you. The greatest test of all. Trust in yourselves. And remember that few people believed that little David could defeat the great Goliath.
They just passed 3 incredibly mind-mangling trials in order to test their mettle. I would think that belief in themselves would come pretty easily at this point. And who's talking anyway? Is this God? One of his angels? I don't remember them ever being female. Or is this some other goddess trying to lead them off their chosen path? Who are you, lady? Herod, Jimmy, and their army of Ganaglanchis are storming the temple. And look, the brave mighty warrior got captured. Again! She gets captured more than Kaylee from Quest for Camelot. Then Jimmy turns into a Nessie praying mantis thing, which comes forth by bursting out of the middle of the ocean in the desert. Don't remember reading that in the Bible. And after Tobias and Xena Jolie have a little mind meld, what? They fight off the Anaglachis.
It seems like we've been doing this together all our lives.
Are you two actually siblings?
That's why they haven't kissed yet.
I've never fought alongside anyone like this before.
I've never fought alongside anyone at all.
You're in the army, and you've never fought alongside anyone like that before? I expect that kind of idiocy from her, but you are a very special kind of stupid.
Remember what the star said.
Few people believe that little David could defeat the great Goliath.
Wait, remember what the star said? That was the star talking to them earlier? The Star of Bethlehem is a character now? I wonder what other stars are sentient.
It's showtime.
So they finally defeat Jimmy by making a sling and using it to destroy the moon, which brings on another great flood. Brilliant move, wise man. Jimmy's killed by the sunlight, even though we've seen him survive sunlight before now, so what the hell? And how do they deal with Herod?
A black-hearted soul deserves coal.
Coal for being bad. What a grand idea.
A black-hearted soul deserves coal? The fat guy with a white beard said, "A black-hearted soul deserves coal?" Why, yes, Virginia, there is a Santa Claus. In fact, there's 2 of them, and they both predate Jesus! Then after all of that, they finally get to the stable where Jesus is born. Then again, with this blindingly bright light, are we sure they didn't get beamed up by the rainbow faces? Or is Jesus radioactive? That can't be good. And as if that wasn't insultingly stupid enough, take a look at this.
As a reward for having successfully completed such an important mission, the 3 kings were given a gift: the power to make children's secret wishes come true. And so ever since then, on the night of every 5th of January, the wise men travel all over the world, bringing gifts to all the children.
Me too?
You only have to believe in them.
Oops, shush. I didn't mean to.
That's right! The 3 wise men who visited Jesus are still alive 2,000 years later, and they're acting as a collective second Santa Claus. What the Flying Dutchman were these people smoking to come up with that? Never mind how the movie never shows us the Nativity at all, which was the only thing that the wise men of the Bible are associated with, but then they go on to say that the wise men became another Santa Claus? It'd be fine if they said something like maybe they inspired St. Nicholas to give gifts on Christmas Eve, but that's not what they're saying. The three wise men, who, by the way, are supposed to be powerless against death,
My powers are useless against death.
somehow remained alive for the next 2,000 years to give gifts to children without the aid of magical elves or flying reindeer or anything else that Santa needs to do his work. And what has this all been building up to? The three wise men giving the kid the gift that he missed out on Christmas, with no explanation as to why they'd given this faith-defining gift instead of Santa, and apparently the gift that not receiving made him lose all faith in Christmas was the kangaroo rat that he already had at the beginning of the movie! So that was the three wise men. And actually, it's a work of genius. You go into a movie called The Three Wise Men, and you're expecting to see the wise men from the Bible as they learn of the coming of the Messiah, and we follow their journey to see him in Bethlehem. But no, what you get is a treasure hunt story involving wizards, superheroes, Yanaglanchis, goblins, astral projection, cursed pirates, fire elementals, kings from other mythologies, lava-breathing sea dragons, magical talking stars, and warriors who are only warriors because boobs. Why? Because this movie is actually an elaborate piece of social commentary. It has the very clear message that Christmas these days has so little to do with Jesus, not even his origin story has any Jesus in it. Brilliant! Seriously though, this movie was just awful, and I can't believe I went through the trouble of turning into Wolfabob for this. Changing like this really hurts, you know? And since this movie hurt me, time to hurt it right back.
Subscribe.